Hey, I'm Pops, and I want to talk about Kill Bill Volume 2. I did a little link, put a little link down there for you for my other review. I did Volume 1 already. I was going to be on Zach's channel talking about martial art films, that kind of thing. Now, I already talked about Volume 1, which is the martial arts portion of this epic film, because it's really two films that really is one epic tale, one big film. And yes, there are some martial arts. There's some training in this one more than there's a lot of action, martial arts action compared to the first film. This is more like Tarantino integrating a spaghetti western, because the action here takes place in and around the U.S. and what happened. And it begins very quickly with the bride's death. You get more information about see David Carradine as Bill, right? You see the wedding sequence. You get to see his Tarantino's love for the original, Dollars trilogy, that type of filmmaking. You get to see some other stuff as well. The film is really, really good. With starting with some black and white sequences, the wedding murder, of course. There's a little quick scene about Bud, who's played by Michael Madsen, about selling his Hansa sword. And you get to see her basically continue. The bride is basically continue. We'll learn her name in this movie. Her journey as she's trying to take all these people that wronged her and murdered her and took her child and all those kinds of things, right? And Tarantino shifts it dramatically. So if you were to see the whole thing and you treated the end of Volume 1 as an intermission, when you come back, you are really sort of shocked into a completely different rest of the story. Like the tone changes, and she has to change. She really has to become a different type of fighter and strategist to win the rest of the way, or she's going to get herself killed. So that's kind of how it begins. That's kind of how it plays out. Of course, she tries to get the drop on Bud. He basically is onto her. Tarantino is a master. He's got you going in different directions and shoots her in the chest with rock salt. She, of course, passed out. There's a lot of torturing of her, that kind of thing. And basically, he makes the deal with Darryl Hannah's character, who's nicknamed the Mountain Snake, that he'll sell the Hansa sword. He's going to sell her the bride's Hansa sword for like $1 million. And it was set up previously that Bud had sold his for like a couple $100, right? So anyway, the story goes, they put Beatrice, I said her name. They put the bride into a coffin, and you're flashed back to her training with this sort of like 5-palm exploding thing that's done. And basically it's Gordon Leo again. He plays another character, different character, Pai Mei. And Pai Mei basically, by the way, he's so freaking great. Like, I just love this guy. And I love the 5-palm exploded heart stuff. I love all that. And you see her basically, how is she going to survive, get out of the coffin? It's taken right from another movie. This again, this Tarantino playing homage, this Tarantino, plagiarizing. Do you care? I personally enjoyed finding that scene and revisiting the original scene that inspired him to do this. And of course, I will say, I definitely love the original Dollars trilogy, and I don't find any of this sort of like off-putting of how he steals from spaghetti westerns at all. Actually, significantly less homage or theft than the Shaw Brothers work in the first film. But once you get to that and you get this conflict, basically Darryl Hannah is there to take Bud out. She comes with a suitcase of money, snakes inside, bites him. I mean, there's a throwdown. Of course, there's another sword. So whenever there's a big fight between the two of them, you have Darryl Hannah versus Uma Thurman. She has Bud's Hansa sword, which Bud lied, and basically takes her down and then leaves her there with the snake. Like, it's just so freaking great. It's very chaotic. It's a lot of uncertainty of how he keeps you constantly off balance, because it really keeps you in line with the main character, who we learn her name is Beatrix. She eventually has to work her way through, like, how do I get to Bill? How do I get to Bill? And of course, when she finds Bill, big surprise. Yeah, Bill's there with a little girl who happens to be 4, who kind of resembles Beatrix. Her name is BB. And you have this sort of back and forth. Bill drugs her at one point, and then the big climactic scene. I don't know about you guys. I will say, I think with Volume 2 more than Volume 1, what hits me really hard is, how did Bill end up with the kid again? Like, it's all off camera. It never is talked about. We don't really get the details of, like, so she was shot. She was kept alive in a coma, whether she gave birth right away or they did a C-section or whatever they did to save the child. They did. How did Bill lie? How did he get it? Did he steal it? What are we? I don't know. I didn't go down a dive here to see if there's a commentary or if Tarantino ever addressed this issue. It's all just sort of in this mythos of this is what happened. Bill's a pretty crazy, shady dude. I have no problem believing that it happened. It just happens. It's out there and we don't see it. So I just want to touch on some footage just real quick as I get the right buttons here. Hang on. Sorry. Just to kind of speak to certain moments in the film. This, of course, is Bill walking. Those are Bill's boots, to work towards the actual sequence and those kinds of things. He walks in the frame, and you see just the way Tarantino does this, just coming in, and it really is just some beautiful filmmaking with how all of this is done. Of course, here's the gang there to kill her, and we kind of get more details. The style, of course, see how the way the text comes in, the way it comes in on the side. It's just all very spaghetti western compared to the first film. Just everything about it. So here's her with her Hanzo sword, and you've seen the half of it. Great marketing, by the way. The black and white sequences of her driving, which of course is right out of other films. And you see this in Sin City. You see this sort of like film noir stuff. It's just beautiful, especially in black and white. And then of course you get to there's Pai Mei, the training sequences, and her just getting her butt handed to her and being trained and all those kinds of things. And he's like totally ripped right out of Asian cinema. Then of course the face with Bill at the end. You have that kind of sequence, of course, and these are the different. Let's see here. Oh, her just being so freaking. Here's Bud. That's Bud telling Bill he sold the sword. This sequence, that was a flashback sequence. That's not the right scene. That's an overrun. That's the overend battle. So when that's Bill about the sword, he sold the sword. He doesn't have a sword. There's a sword. She's got to figure out how to get to Bill. So you get to see Bill. Bill is David Carradine, man. He is so super cool in this movie. Such an underrated performance. And you just don't know if she can pull it off. Bill's kind of has an upper hand on her several moments. And you just don't know. And then, of course, you get this a little tease of
what's supper to her last breath.
Just great stuff. Really, really just great seeing the hand-to-hand combat and how it plays out. And, of course, the snakes are this wild card and all of this. Let's see. Oh, yeah, this is one of the other fight scenes. Yeah, and there's BB. There's BB. That was a great shot with the coffin, the nails going in, things like that. Yeah, Kill Bill Volume 2. Again, love the film. I don't love it quite as much as the first one. Not gonna lie. I think the first one is a higher rating. I would say it's more like a very hard critic. For those of you who don't know me well, I'm going to say the first one is probably closer to like an 8. This is more like a 7. I think the first one just all this is really where Tarantino is wrapping up a lot of loose ends in this one. You have a lot more of complexity and things with less action, like whatever. So there is a little bit of a taste issue here. I think there are parts I just don't care as much about. I thought the training sequence, in fact, also was like, I just didn't seem as engaged as I did with the first film and Hanzo's sword developing and things like that work in some ways and some ways don't. But yeah, no, David Carradine rocks it. Uma Thurman, of course, rocks it. Great cast, great execution. And it was fun to revisit it. I have to give, again, Zach's kudos for at least involving me and allowing this come to my mind, and then being able to go back and do it again. So anyway, with that, we did it last time. Let's do it again. Let's just end with some silliness and have some fun with this. Good film. We recommend you revisiting it as well. But anyway, I am Pops. This is a little tease to know that.